Today, I'm going to look at 10 films by director Walter Hill that were likely profoundly important to people coming of age in the mid-1970s. I will discuss each film in chronological order. However, the IMDb.com score will be used to rank the films by popularity. Of course, I'll be throwing in my own opinion as well. Walter Hill is an American director, writer, and producer known for many widely popular films. Raised in California, Hill had a decidedly working-class family and upbringing, as illustrated in this quote. Hill's family had originally come from Tennessee and Mississippi, one of those fallen Southern families, shirt sleeve to shirt sleeves in 3 generations, unquote. From the mailroom at Universal, Hill was accepted into the Directors Guild of America training program. This allowed him to apprentice on television westerns such as Gunsmoke and Bonanza. He served as second assistant director on the Thomas Crown Affair in 1968 and later on Bullitt 1968, both Steve McQueen projects. Hill used screenwriting to get to the director's chair. His first film was Hard Times 1975, and he was off to the races. I saw Hard Times 1975 at the theater, and I'll freely admit it had a profound effect on my life. This film stars Charles Bronson as Cheney, a Depression-era paid street fighter. But the real magic of the movie is the teaming of Fighter Cheney with showman/promoter Spencer Speed Weed, played by James Coburn, and trainer/spiritualist Poe, masterfully performed by Strother Martin. The city of New Orleans as a backdrop also works as another character. This film is only weakened by the inclusion of Bronson's then-wife, Jill Ireland, as the love interest. On IMDb.com, the film has a 7.2, placing it in second place among the 10 films on the list. I have no problem with that placement, but if you view Cheney as a problem fixer, the film can be seen on a higher and probably unintended level. Cheney comes to town and interacts with 3 people. When he leaves, he's improved all of their lives. Visiting Angel, The Warriors 1979 is a traveling movie. The fairly small street gang, The Warriors, are cut off from their home as every other gang in the city hunts them with a death warrant. Michael Beck as Swan and James Remar as Ajax vie for control as the gang moves across the city. The gang action is exciting, though it was toned down compared to the violence in the book. 2 other performances are of note. These are David Patrick Kelly as Luther, the beer bottle clinking bad guy, Warriors come out to play, and Lynn Thigpen as the DJ, who was only shown as a close-up pair of lips with bright red lipstick as she narrated the search. IMDb has this movie rated at 7.5. This places the film in first place in terms of popularity on the list, and I'm fine with that. Although I think Hard Times 1975 or Crossroads 1986 could hold that spot just as well. The Long Riders 1980 is a decent western based on the real-life outlaw brothers who roamed the West after the Civil War. The idea came from actor Stacy Keach, who was also a co-writer. Here's what makes the movie unique. The 3 younger brothers were played by brothers David, Keith, and Robert Carradine. Frank and Jesse James were played by brothers Stacy and James Keach. Ed and Clell Miller were played by brothers Dennis and Randy Quaid. Brothers Charlie and Bob Ford were played by brothers Christopher and Nicholas Guest. How many fingers do you have on your left hand? Sadly, James Remar, who played Sam Starr, was not related to Pamela Reed, who played Belle Starr. Veteran cowboy actor Harry Carey Jr. appeared in the film, connecting it to the earlier Western film tradition. IMDb.com has this movie rated at 6.9, placing it in a tie for 5th place with 48 Hours 1982. I'll talk about how I feel about this in the 48 Hours 1982 section. The Long Riders 1980 is worth watching. Southern Comfort 1981 is an interesting film concept. A group of hapless National Guardsmen are on a weekend exercise in the Louisiana swamp. Their sheer buffoonery and superior attitude brings them into conflict with a group of Cajun swamp dwellers. Newest member, Hardin, played by Powers Booth, teams with savvy member Spencer, played by Keith Carradine, and they work hard to survive the weekend. IMDb has this movie rated at 7.1. On this list, this film is tied for 3rd place with Crossroads 1986. I enjoy the film Southern Comfort 1981, and it's always good to watch. However, you have to keep in mind that it's really just The Warriors 1979, with the gangs being replaced with National Guardsmen and Cajuns. 48 Hours 1982 is a dang good buddy cop movie. although they're both not cops. After criminal Albert Gantz, played by James Remar, escapes from prison, hard-drinking cop Jack Cates, played by Nick Nolte, has 48 hours with paroled convict Reggie Hammond, played by Eddie Murphy, to stop Gantz's rampage. David Patrick Kelly appears again as a criminal, again with the name Luther. IMDb.com has this movie rated at 6.9, which I think is a crime. Eddie Murphy was a riot in this film, rapidly firing one-liners, and Nick Nolte worked as a straight man. For some reason, this movie had a reputation for not being that funny. It's funny. So, it should be clear that I feel that this film, being tied with The Long Riders 1980, is a crime against film rating. I feel a little ashamed. I don't know this movie as well as all the others on the list. I guess I wasn't ready for the dystopian future yet. Streets of Fire 1984 shared a lot with other Walter Hill films. Like in The Warriors 1979, they had to move through hostile territory while being chased by gangs and cops. The Bombers Club is called Torchies, just like the Redneck Bar in 48 Hours 1982. There are a lot of good, and at the time, up-and-coming stars in this film. They include Michael Perry, Deborah Van Valkenburg, and Lynn Thigpen from The Warriors 1979. Others are an 18-year-old Diane Lane, Rick Moranis, Amy Madigan, the always great Willem Dafoe, and Bill Paxton. I still miss him. IMDb.com rates this movie at 6.7. This places the film in a two-way tie for 7th place with Extreme Prejudice 1987. Based on my limited experience with the two films, Streets of Fire 1984 seems the better movie. It certainly has a better soundtrack. Crossroads 1986 is another journey film, but this time the chaser is the devil and his hounds. Ralph Macchio, as Eugene, leads the crew as he searches for the lost songs of Robert Johnson. His traveling companions are Willie Brown, played by Joe Seneca, a blues player who regrets the deal he made with Scratch many years before, and Francis, played by Jamie Gertz, who simply wants to be safe. Harry Carey Jr. shows up in this film as well. IMDb.com has this film rated at 7.1. This places the film in a two-way tie for 3rd place with Southern Comfort 1981. While I really enjoy fighting Cajuns in the swamp, Crossroads 1986 is a bit deeper in its subject matter, if it wasn't for the guitar face. Extreme Prejudice 1987 is a tough guy and gal extravaganza starring Nick Nolte, Powers Booth, Michael Ironside, Maria Conchita Alonso, Rip Torn, Clancy Brown, and William Forsythe. Nolte is a Texas Ranger and Booth is a drug dealer. Maria Conchita Alonso is the woman in the middle. Ironside leads an irregular military team of shadow soldiers. Of course, Booth was the lead in Southern Comfort in 1981, possibly as an homage to director Sam Peckinpah's The Wild Bunch 1969. This movie ends with a massive, bloody shootout. IMDb.com has this movie rated at 6.7. As I've said before, this places the film in a two-way tie for 7th place. It's a good film to watch, but the story has been told a million times. This time with the writing of director John Milius of Red Dawn 1984 fame. Another film that featured Powers Booth. This one should be 9. I really like Geronimo, An American Legend 1993, although the film is not super popular. With writing by John Milius and a cast of legends, this film should receive more love. The crew consists of Jason Patric, a reluctant former Confederate serving with the Union, and the great Gene Hackman, who was Brigadier General George Crook, known historically by the natives as Nantan Lupan, the Grey Wolf. This film also starred Robert Duvall, who is arguably one of America's greatest actors, as a civilian scout who was largely channeling Gus from Lonesome Dove in the 1989 miniseries. An actor who excels at playing angry guys, Wes Studi held the role of Geronimo, and it had a young Matt Damon as a shaved-tail lieutenant. That's an Army Mule reference if you don't know. IMDb.com has this movie rated at a very low 6.6. This puts it in 9th place on this list, but to me it could easily be moved to 4th behind Crossroads 1986 and ahead of Southern Comfort 1981. The final film on today's list, in terms of being the most recently released and the lowest rating, is Wild Bill 1995. The tale of the famous lawman is told in flashbacks from his funeral. Jeff Bridges played the lead, and he's always good to watch. Interestingly, Ellen Barkin is Calamity Jane. John Hurt tells most of the story as Wild Bill's friend, Charlie Prince. Diane Lane, who we saw in Streets of Fire 1984, was a former lover and the mother of his would-be killer. Others include Keith Carradine as Buffalo Bill Cody. Of course, he was in The Long Riders 1980. Christina Applegate played a young opium-smoking prostitute, and for rugged old guys, Bruce Dern and James Gammon rounded out the cast. IMDb.com has this movie rated at an abysmal 5.8. This puts it at 10 out of 10 on this list, and I'm just fine with that. The amazing cast in this movie can't make up for the revisionist story. This is history that is pretty well known. So there you have it, my list of 10 films by director Walter Hill. What are your favorites, and which film would you move to the top? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for taking the time to listen. If you want more, be sure to subscribe, hit the like, and ring the bell. Beware the Moors.